from Saturday's collapse in Jacksonville for the Chargers, big changes to their coaching staff as the team fired offensive coordinator Joe Lombardi and quarterbacks coach Shane Day yesterday. Head coach Brandon Staley, whose team blew a 27-point lead, understands the criticism he received after the disappointing loss.
I know when you get to this level that there's an expectation of performance, and that's what drives you as a competitor. So what I love is that, you know, our fan base and the people in the NFL, that there is that type of scrutiny on our team, because I think that we've created a set of expectations for our football team that I'm proud of, and that there's always going to be speculation when, you know, other people may not be thinking you're having the success that they think you should have. I have a lot of confidence in my game, a lot of confidence in our team and our organization and where it can go, and, you know, that's where we're going to be. Our focus is going to be moving forward.
You know, Staley was hired by the Chargers after serving as the Rams defensive coordinator in 2020 when the Rams had the best scoring defense in the league. Well, Staley's been unable to duplicate that success with the Chargers, who allowed the most yards per rush in the league during his first 2 seasons as a head coach. But as of right now, looks like he's sticking around. Let's bring in senior NFL insider Adam Schefter. And a lot of people are talking about potentially Sean Payton in the sweepstakes and landing in L.A. with the Chargers. What's the latest you're hearing right now, specifically with Payton?
Well, he's not going to be the Chargers head coach. He's not going to land in L.A. And Brandon Staley looks like he's going to be back as the Chargers head coach. There's no indication as to anything otherwise. The Chargers have made the moves that they're going to make at the coordinator position. As for Sean Payton, he was in Los Angeles on Tuesday, Kevin, meeting with the Denver Broncos, who then met with the Rams defensive coordinator Raheem Morris after a meeting with Sean Payton. Sean Payton met Monday night virtually with the Houston Texans. He's going to go to New York on Friday to meet with the Carolina Panthers owner, David Tepper. So he's in consideration in Houston, in Denver, in Carolina, and we'll see what the future holds for him. But what is not in the future for him is being the head coach of the Los Angeles Chargers. He'll be in Los Angeles. He'll be working for Fox. It just won't be the Chargers.
Payton, by the way, 152 wins in his 15 seasons with New Orleans, including a Super Bowl. You have some news here on Vikings superstar Justin Jefferson. What can you tell us, Adam?
Well, Kevin, it's the end of the season, and for the first time, Justin Jefferson is eligible for a contract extension. The Vikings want to get something done, and Justin Jefferson is going to want to get something done too, and it shouldn't be hard for the two sides to come together in a deal that looks like it has a real chance to reshape the wide receiver market. He's got 1 year currently left on his contract. The Vikings also have the 5th-year option, which if they don't get a deal done, of course they would pick that up. You're talking about one of the elite talents in all of football. They value him as a player. They value him as a person. They want him back, and both sides, I'm sure, are going to be working very hard during the offseason to make sure that this contract is resolved, I would imagine, before next season begins.
No, he led the NFL in both receiving yards as well as receptions. We'll see how this plays out in the offseason. Shefty, thank you so much. El?
Thank you, Kevin.
Kevin, in the new NIL era, are we witnessing our first holdout? Florida quarterback recruit Jaden Rashada requested a release from his national letter of intent Tuesday night after a $13 million name, image, and likeness deal reportedly fell through. Something seemed amiss when the number 7 quarterback prospect failed to enroll at Florida last week. You'll remember that he flipped his commitment from Miami to Florida in mid-November and formally signed with the Gators just over 3 weeks ago. It's a huge story, so we brought on our senior college football writer, Pete Thamel, who's joining us now with more. Pete, what can we expect to happen next with Rashada's situation in Florida?
Well, Rashada and Florida are done, El. So what's going to happen next is Jaden Rashada needs to find a new home, and if he wants to enroll to play in spring ball, he probably has to find one fairly quickly. I was told today that Florida officials aren't expected to hold up anything in terms of the national letter of intent. So he has to unwind from that first, which is a process, and Florida will not prove an obstacle in that. And then he has to go find a new home. He was once a Miami commitment before flipping to Florida. But the early thought on the West Coast, from making a few calls today, is that the University of Washington looms as the favorite for Jaden Rashada's next stop.
Wow. So we were wondering, right, like the holdout ideas. He's sort of using this as leverage to get more money from Florida. But per Pete Thamel, this is done. It feels like, though, Pete, this isn't going to be a one-time thing, right? What does this mean for similar situations going forward when it comes to NIL?
Well, El, I think it's important to understand that there were a lot of players who agreed to different NIL deals that didn't get paid this year. There was unrest in certain programs. There were players going into coaches' offices demanding payment. And the NIL structure through collectives inherently is clunky because the schools are not in charge of them. For example, I was told today that the Gator Collective, which issued that deal to Rashada that it couldn't pay, the school is likely to distance itself from the Gator Collective because they tried to basically make a deal that they couldn't come through on. So I think moving forward, what this does is it just basically shows that athletes have to be careful and they have to make sure the deals that they are making, the collectives are going to be able to come through and pay.
More bad news for Florida as well. They lose out on Rashada, and they were in the mix for LSU transfer Walker Howard. News today that quarterback now headed to Ole Miss to play for Lane Kiffin. So we'll see what happens as the swamp remains without a QB. Pete Thamel. I'm really sad about it, too.
Yeah.
Pete Thamel joining us here on SportsCenter with the latest.
It just had to.
No, it's good for Florida to be good.
The Cowboys and Niners kick off on Sunday. Here's one key matchup to watch. The Cowboys pass rush against Brock Purdy. Since becoming a starter in Week 14, the rookie Purdy has been among the best QBs in the league when pressured, including the playoffs. Purdy has 0 turnovers on 47 dropbacks under pressure. They'll go up against the Cowboys pass rush that likes to get after. Dallas has a pressure rate of 39% during the regular season, the highest such rate in the NFL. That pressure allowed them to record 54 sacks in the regular season. Team report starting with Todd Archer with the boys.
Coming off a Monday night game, the Cowboys didn't have a full practice on Wednesday, just a walkthrough, a nod to the quick turnaround they have this week. The Niners, meanwhile, have 2 extra days of preparation, but the Cowboys aren't stressing. When the time comes, T.Y. Hilton said, we'll be ready. The Cowboys certainly don't lack for motivation. The Niners ended their season a year ago in the wild card round of the playoffs, and that loss has stuck with this team throughout the offseason, into training camp, and the regular season. But on Wednesday, Jaron Kearse tried to downplay it. We're craving a Super Bowl, he said. They're next in the way. That's enough motivation for us. Now for more on the Niners, here's Nick Wagner.
After beating the Cowboys in last year's NFC wildcard round, the 49ers' biggest takeaway as they head into Sunday's rematch is this. Although the teams are mostly the same, anytime the Niners and Cowboys play on this stage, the stakes are even bigger. As defensive end Nick Bosa told me, because it's the playoffs, it's a big deal. But the past definitely makes it even bigger. Linebacker Fred Warner, who grew up a Cowboys fan, said he now hates the Cowboys. And though he knows this is a big game, once it starts, it's all about execution and playing ball.
Great to have 2-time Super Bowl champ Booger McFarland joining us now on SportsCenter. Booger, what's going to be the deciding factor in this Cowboys-Niners game?
Kev, I think the Cowboys' ability to stop the run. I mean, Kyle Shanahan and the way the 49ers want to run the football with Christian McCaffrey, if you can't stop their run, then you have no chance of beating them. That's going to set up the play-action pass game. And when Brock Purdy, a rookie quarterback, can play-action pass, and now it creates separation in the defense, he can be outstanding, Kev. I know he's a rookie, but he's playing so well. But if you take the running game away from Brock Purdy, Kev, I'm afraid I have more confidence in you running the 40-yard dash than I do Brock Purdy being able to beat me. And you know how I feel about your athletic ability. You have none whatsoever, my friend.
I really appreciate that. Well, you know, with friends like this, who needs enemies? Thank you so much. I know you have confidence in me because you're going to come back later in the program. By the way, McCaffrey has scored a touchdown in 7 straight games. I mentioned Booger's coming back to talk about that matchup on the line between the Eagles and the Giants. Today's headlines start in the NFL. Todd Archer reporting the Cowboys are adding kicker Tristan Vizcaino to the practice squad as insurance after Brett Maher missed 4 extra points on Monday night. Maher right now is the starter. Tennis defending Aussie Open champ Rafa Nadal is out, losing in the second round to Mackenzie McDonald in straight sets. Nadal has had numerous injuries this past year and hurt his hip in this match. To the NBA, Cavs star Donovan Mitchell out again against the Grizzlies tonight with a groin strain. He's averaging over 28 points per game in his first season in Cleveland. Memphis has won 10 straight. Adrian Wojnarowski reporting the Wizards, and guard Bradley Beal is expected to return to the lineup tonight against the Knicks after missing 5 games with a hamstring strain. He missed 20 games so far this season.
Still ahead on SportsCenter, Josh Allen and Joe Burrow take the mic. How the two QBs are hoping to